Hello, my friends. You're welcome back to this exciting topic on UFOs and extraterrestrial beings or aliens. In my previous video, I took time to discuss the historicity of the phenomena that we have come to call UFOs, or simply unidentified flying objects. The military, the specialists have renamed the phenomena as unidentified aerial phenomena. And I talked about how all the nations, all advanced nations, have recorded sightings of aircrafts, strange aircrafts in the sky that did not belong to any nation on earth. The way that these aircrafts operated, their maneuvering of the skies, the capabilities that they had were such that no government on earth, no nation on earth had those capabilities. And right from the 50s, if you haven't watched my first video, go and watch the first video on the UFOs. Right from the 50s, the sightings began to increase. In fact, the sightings have always been there, but from the 50s, the sightings began to increase to the 60s and 70s, and we have a peak now in 2023. The sightings are all over, and the governments of the world are scared. The military people, the governments, the secret agencies are scared because even though for a long time these governments have sought to cover up what they were seeing and just pretend that there was nothing there, scientists try to explain away the phenomena and just consider them as lies or just superstition, and said there was nothing there in the sky, and whatever anybody was saying were just some balloons or some hallucinations and so on and so forth. But in all nations, all the advanced nations, and especially in Europe, eventually made public their classified documents concerning the sightings of these machines, these aircrafts, strange aircrafts in the air. And nations such as Britain, Russia, France, Germany, Belgium, Sweden, and so on, have made public their findings about UFOs. And these sightings were authentic sightings by military pilots who came into close proximity, with these aircrafts. Some were just ordinary people on Earth that observed them with their naked eyes because they came so low that they could be observed, and some of the machines were so huge, like a football field, hanging out there in the sky with lights beaming down on Earth. Some of these machines were said to have crashed, and people actually went there to take some of the debris and began to, as we are told, reverse engineer them. That's what we have been told by very, very reliable sources going on and that's what we have been told is going on in Area 52 of the United States. Well, but these aircrafts have the capacity to fly at the speed of lightning. They have the capacity to zigzag in the air. in such a way that if there were any human beings in them, those human beings will just vaporize. They'll die. No human can survive. They can fly, straight up, 90 degrees up, with such speed, unimaginable speed to humans. They can appear and disappear. Okay. So these sightings have been going on for a very long time. And even though most of the nations, advanced nations, had made public their findings, the United States continued to say, no, 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 there's nothing out there until 2014, when the Senate, really began to press on the Pentagon to come out with the truth. Well, the Pentagon, especially from last year to this year, the Pentagon had to come out and openly admit that there's something out there that we can't explain. They can't explain. At first, the Americans thought it was Russia. The Russians thought it was America. Sometimes they thought it was Chinese. But after observing the maneuvers of these aircraft in the air, everyone came to a conclusion that they couldn't be human. These machines were not human beings. They were extraterrestrial. That's where that name, that term came from. Extraterrestrial means that they are outside the earth. They're outside the earth. Okay. And then the term UFO, that's unidentified flying objects. They were renamed especially by the military, as Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, UAPs. Right. So in this video, I want to just talk about what the Bible says about UFOs at first, and then I'll go to aliens. Now, the Bible has talked about UFOs ever since. When I'm talking about UFO, I'm talking about any object flying out there in the sky. That is not human. That's not man-made. That has features and, aerodynamics that are completely impossible for humans to understand. So I want us to go to the Bible and look at a few of these. Now, first of all, I want us to go to the book of Ezekiel, and we would find that in Ezekiel chapter 1 and chapter 10, Ezekiel describes a machine, a flying object that came towards him at the speed of lightning, flew towards him in a luminous cloud, and then within that luminous cloud was the machine. And the machine was actually made of beings. Of course, they were living beings. I call them machines because, they were both metal and human, not human and living beings. And even the metals were alive. Sometimes we humans say that we have living things and non-living things. For all that I have come to understand, there's nothing like a non-living thing. The fact that it's not moving doesn't mean it's not alive. The fact that it's not making noise, sound, doesn't mean it's not alive. We are very limited in our perception. We're very limited in what we can see and observe. And our scientific equipment and our technological equipments are so backward. They are so crude that right now, as of now, our technology does not permit us to know many things. All right. And when I talk about they being crude, you may be surprised because there are things that were created many, many, many thousands of centuries ago that we even don't know how they were created. Stones were cut, with sharp edges. Cut inside granite stones. sometimes 200 tons, were quarried and carried and used to build pyramids and Stonehenges and structures that still beat our imagination today. Thousands of years ago, that we consider to be, we consider today to be a time of primitivity. They didn't know anything. But more and more scientists are discovering that they had certain technologies that we don't have today. Even though those technologies are lost to us, we don't know how they came about them. Many people are speculating and saying that these must be aliens, technological, know-how that came from non-human agencies. All right. So in Ezekiel chapter 1 and Ezekiel chapter 10, the prophet Ezekiel describes this vision that he saw. Yahuwah sitting on a throne, and the throne was carried by 4 living creatures. Just like in some parts of Africa, like specifically in Ghana, the kings are carried on a palanquin, specifically the king of Ashanti and the chiefs of the Kan tribes. They are carried in palanquins, where we have 4 people carrying a special chair, a special throne, on which the king sits, and 4 people carry them on their shoulders, right? That is something like that Ezekiel saw and described in Ezekiel chapters 1 and chapter 10, right? And the beings that were carrying this throne of God, what Ezekiel described as the lapis lazuli throne of God. The beings that were carrying them were 4 beings, 4 living creatures that had 4 faces. Each one of them had 4 faces. In front was the face of a man. At the side, one side was the face of a lion. The other side was the face of an ox. And behind was the face of an eagle. They had feet like the feet of an ox. And they had 4 wings, sometimes 6 wings. And their wings touched one another. And with 2 wings, they covered their bodies, and with 2 wings, they flew. Under them were huge metallic, something that looked like metallic wheels. Just that these wheels had eyes all around them. And the wheels were shaped in such a way that there was a wheel within a wheel, so that wherever the creatures moved, they didn't have to turn. The wheels just moved straight. And the description of Ezekiel of this unidentified flying objects, today, if Ezekiel were using the terms that we use today, he would say it's an unidentified flying object, a UFO, because this object was flying. The description he gave to the maneuvering of this machine in the air is exactly the descriptions given to the present UFOs being observed, being sighted in the air. It moved at lightning speed, the speed of lightning. It could appear and disappear, So Ezekiel gave us a detailed description, and I just want you to go and read for yourself Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel in the Old Testament, the prophet Ezekiel chapter 1, and he repeats, he saw the same vision, takes the description again in chapter 10. This was clearly an unidentified flying object or unidentified aerial phenomena. That Ezekiel saw. All right. Now, so long time, look at the time of Ezekiel, 700, 800 years before Christ. He saw this thing and he described it. After that, we also see other crafts, crafts in the air or aircrafts that looked like, chariots. For instance, in 2 Kings chapter 6, first of all, 2 Kings chapter 2, the chariot in which the prophet Elijah was taken up to heaven. There were horses pulling chariots of fire. Chariots of fire. And Elijah went up into this chariot and was taken to heaven. What was it? It was an unidentifiable flying object. Unidentifiable aerial phenomena. Long time before Jesus Christ was born. The Bible records it clearly. Again, in 2 Kings chapter 6, when Elisha's, at this time it was Elisha, in chapter 2, it was Elijah, now it's Elisha. When Elisha, his servant Gehazi, got scared because he thought that the enemy armies were coming to capture them, Elisha prayed and God opened the eyes of Gehazi, and he saw in the mountain chariots of fire. Chariots of fire. Horses, and chariots of fire, which were ready to defend Elisha. All right. So the Bible records these things. They are clear. Just that our scientists, since we have rejected the Bible as some primitive book, we have rejected the Bible, we consider the Bible as nonsensical, as being, superstitious and non-scientific. We do not even want to consider what it says. So we are in sleep. We are in a slumber, a deep slumber, in a deep sleep. We are hiding our heads in the sand like the ostrich, pretending that there's nothing, only to wake up and find that there are unidentified flying objects in the sky, which we cannot understand. With all the, the denial, the scientists wanting to deny and fighting all the, putting up fights, just trying to prove that these things are non-existent, or these things are hoaxes, or these things are balloons, or some other human objects. Even they, the scientists, say between 5 to 20% of the sightings are inexplicable. They are not from the earth. Right? The Bible tells us that they exist. They exist. They're out there. The fact that we cannot see them doesn't mean they don't exist. And the fact that our crude, backward technological equipments cannot discern these things, cannot see these things, doesn't mean that they don't exist. What impudence do we have to imagine that we are alone? Suddenly people say we are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone in the universe. But you should have known this long time. The Bible has always said it. We are not alone. Even the most, uneducated people in the villages in Africa and many parts of the world who didn't have Western education know abundantly well that we are not alone. We are not the only creatures in this vast universes of God. So there are machines out there, there are objects out there that we call stars. We just name all of them stars, but not all of them are stars in the terms that we think. Like, for instance, the Bible says that Moses in Exodus chapter 4, he was pasturing the sheep of his father-in-law Jethro, and he saw that there was a flame of fire on some bushes, but the bushes were not being consumed. He went closer and it was like, what's this? The flame is burning, but the leaves are not being consumed. And as he got closer to observe this inexplicable phenomenon, a voice called him, and of course, the angel of God called him. And we know the story, how he talked to him and God sent him to Egypt to deliver his people from slavery. Okay. In Hebrews chapter 1, verse 7, the Bible says that God created his angels as flames of fire. Flames of fire. Revelation chapter 9, verse 1 says, a star fell from heaven. A star fell from heaven, and it was given the keys of the abyss, the keys of the bottomless pit were given to that star. How can keys be given to a star if they are just ordinary stars as we know them? Scientists say they are burning gases. Some of them are burning gases. Some of them are solid material. They are made of all kinds of materials. But the Bible says that the star fell from heaven and the keys of the abyss was given to the star. It means that star is a living thing. It's a living being, right? In Matthew chapter 2, we are told about the journey of the Magi who came all the way from the east to visit baby Jesus in Bethlehem. They saw the star of Bethlehem, or called the Star of Bethlehem. A star. And in this star, they had enough information, first of all, that a child had been born, and two, that child would be the king of Israel. That's why they came and went straight into the palace of Herod. Because to them, they didn't have the scriptures, but they saw the star. They were able to read enough information in the star to come all the way from the east to Jerusalem. So they went to King Herod and asked him where the newborn king was. King Herod, of course, was shocked because he was a king, even though he was the governor of, Judea at that time, but he was the king. But the wise men or magi, told him that a king had been born. They didn't have the scrolls, they didn't have the Old Testament text, but they had information from a star. Now, Herod called the scribes and the Pharisees and asked them where the Messiah was supposed to be born. Of course, they quickly told him he will be born in Bethlehem, quoting Malachi chapter 5, verse 1. Micah chapter 5, verse 1. All right. So this star of Bethlehem, was it a burning gas? Was it a living thing? It was a living thing because it was able to communicate, right? And when you go specifically to the book of Enoch, the first book of Enoch, in Enoch's vision, he sees flaming fires, angels who were flaming fires, and they could reveal themselves as angels, but they were just flaming. They were just flame, fire. So yes, we say that the sun, there are many suns, several suns, they are burning gases. Could there be angelic beings? Could there be extraterrestrial beings up there in the sky that we just consider to be, burning gases. Now, I'll share with you an experience that I had. This was in 1984. I was going to visit, my father was living in a village in Ghana, in Oti region called Abotwase. And I arrived at in a town that was maybe 50 miles away from my father's village, a town called Jessica. Now, at the junction coming from Accra, arriving at the junction there was Jessica Training College on the right, or on the left, and then there was Jessica Town on the right. So I was standing at the junction. I arrived there around 4 a.m. No, around 2 a.m. Okay, and there was no car to take me to Abotwase, so I was standing at the junction there, and I didn't know anyone in Jessica Town where I could go and knock and go and sleep until daybreak. I just decided to stand there, and I was praying and walking around and praying. The place is a forest area. There were tall trees around, the road. And getting to 4 a.m., I saw a light coming from the way of Jessica Training College towards Jessica Town. I was standing at the junction, the road coming from Hohwe, the junction. I was standing there. It was 4 a.m., so I thought that this was somebody who had woken up early in the morning to go and do whatever, to go to work or to go somewhere else. But as I stood there, right in front of me, the junction, I was at the junction. It was a T-junction, and I was standing there, and the light was coming, but I wasn't hearing any footsteps. So I was alarmed. It was just like a ball of fire. It was moving up and down as, when a man is walking, when someone's walking with a lamp, the way it would look. So the thing came very close to me. It was passing right in front of me. I still wasn't hearing any footsteps. So I said, "Who are you?" There was no noise. I repeated, "Who are you?" No noise. And I realized that this was not a human being. So I said, "Oh, you wait for me." So I began to walk towards it. And as I walked towards it, it doubled the speed. And I began to run. As I ran, it went faster. I went after it. I said, "You wait for me." And suddenly, this ball of fire just swerved up into the trees and became a big fire on top of the trees. This was just light fire. But was it ordinary fire? There was a spirit in that fire. There was a living thing in that fire. All right. So there are living things all around us. And as I've said, we say non-living things. Everything's living. Everything that Yahuwah created has life in it. Even rocks and stones, they have life in it. What do you think the atomic bomb came from? Take the atom, anything, break it. And the atom is the smallest bit. When you split it, inside it is power. Inside it, there is power. There's explosive power. Right? So we say there are non-living things. The fact that they are not moving, the fact that we don't see them breathing, the fact that we don't see them, in any sort of action doesn't mean they're not living. The trees that we see, yes, we call them living things. They are more than that. Some of them, can exhibit certain characteristics that will surprise you. Right? So there are beings that are not human. Now, even on Earth here, on Earth, as I was talking, I was just describing my own experience. There is also the experience of a friend of mine called Doris. She also lives here in Maryland, and she lives in Gaithersburg. And she, in 1987, went to a university in Nigeria to go and do research. She went to the medical technology. She went to do research in medical technology in the National Veterinary Research Institute, National Veterinary Research Institute, and at Vom, a town called Vom, in the Plateau State of Nigeria. Okay, so she had gone to the city, in a nearby city called Jos, and she was returning to campus at Vom. Now, it was in, in the counterpart of what we have here as winter in Africa is the Harmattan, the cold seasons when the northeast trade winds blow from Europe and across the Sahara. The heat on the Sahara dries up, takes all the moisture. So by the time it reaches West Africa, it's very dry, very cold and very dry, right? And so most of the trees shed their leaves. So Sister Doris was in a taxi that dropped her. The taxi was not going to Voss, dropped her at a junction. The junction was about 1 mile away from Vom, that town called Vom. So she decided to walk. It was night. She was walking on the road going to Vom. When she got to a place, suddenly she heard the sound of a car behind her. There were no lights, but she heard the sound of a car. She turned and looked, and there was no car. So she turned back to continue her journey, and suddenly she saw a being standing right at the right side of the road. Extremely tall being, dressed in all white. She was shocked because it just appeared like that. In the twinkle of an eye, when she looked back and there was no car, and she looked again on road, she saw it. And that being called a name, Irene. That person said Irene. So Doris replied and said, "This is not Irene." And then she heard the sound again behind her, the sound of a car. The second time, she looked back, there was still no car. And when she turned again, that person had disappeared. So she walked, and when she got to the first living quarters, she went in there. And she, being a Ghanaian, she was a Ghanaian student who had gone there to do medical technology, research in medical technology. She told a story, and as she was telling the story, the couple in the house were looking at each other, knowingly, with the expression of, wow, like they knew what was happening. So they went and dropped her on campus. And very early the following morning, they were there to come and check on her. It was then that they told her that a lot of people had experienced that thing, had seen that thing, whatever it was. And that being talked to them. And all who talked to that being died. It started with their mouths. The fact that they used their mouth to talk to that being, they began to have disease in their mouth, and eventually they died. So this couple, when they came, they were expecting to find that Doris was seriously ill. Well, Doris was a Christian. She believed in God. And she told me that she was never scared. Even when she saw the thing and the thing disappeared, she just went on singing, gospel songs, and she walked there. She didn't get scared. And I said, thank God that you didn't get scared. If you had gotten scared, you should have died also. Because one of the greatest weapons of Satan is fear. So Doris said, the third day, they came back to find out if she was still well. They wanted to just check on her to see, is everything okay? They came and said, look, I'm okay. Right? But the story was that as many as had seen that man and who talked to that man died. Right. Now we have dwarfs. These are terrestrial spirits, not even to talk about extraterrestrial spirits. These are spirits on earth that we can't see. Dwarfs. And for you out there who are very ignorant, there are a lot of people that are very ignorant, and some of the most ignorant people are people who call themselves scientists. They are very ignorant because they are thinking that whatever exists, they must be able to prove it by, again, our crude, backward, research apparatus, research equipments. No. You see, it's like around us, there are a lot of things that we cannot see, a lot of realities that are going on around us that we cannot see. For instance, there are a lot of sound waves that are in the air around us and our ears cannot hear. As I was saying, I think I'm not sure what I said. I said it in the last video, the first video on UFOs. Our ears, the human ear, can hear sounds in a still range of frequency. When it goes beyond that, or it's lower than that, we can't hear. So dogs have capacity of hearing sounds at a certain frequency that humans can't hear. Bats can hear sound at very high frequencies that the human ear cannot hear. Sometimes you'll be there with a dog and suddenly the ears of the dog go straight and the dog rushes. The dog has heard something that the human ear cannot hear. Yes, cats have the capacity of hearing sound that humans cannot hear because our ears are not made to capture that frequency. The fact that we can't hear doesn't mean that the sound waves are not all around us. Now, supposing that you were in a place, even in a desert, and you had an equipment like a radio, and you tuned in the radio, you'll be able to catch sound. You'll be able to catch sound on different frequencies coming from different nations thousands of miles away, which you could not have heard without a radio. In the same way, there are images all around us in the air that we cannot see with our naked eyes. When you put a television there and you tune it, you put an antenna, you'll be able to see images. The images that you see on the television are in the air. Just that you have an equipment that are able to catch them, and then you see those images on the TV. In the same way, there are things that our technological development does not yet permit us to see them. We don't have the right equipment to see them. That doesn't mean they don't exist. And when you talk about even some terrestrial spirits, terrestrial beings, non-human beings that exist, that sometimes reveal themselves to people, they can appear and they can disappear. They have the capacity to do that. We humans cannot appear and disappear because we are not built with that capacity. But dwarfs are spirits that, it is said they live in the forest. They are terrestrial. They are on Earth. They can appear and disappear. They can, they can fly at light speed of lightning away from you and come back. There are real testimonies. My father actually even gave a testimony of seeing a dwarf. Because at that time he had not yet converted. He went to see the priest of a dwarf. The priest of the dwarf cult. So there was like a cloth, a tent, a screen, and the priest was inside. So they who went to consult the priest were sitting outside, but the priest was inside the tent. It was a small tent, and he was having conversation with the dwarfs, and my father was hearing the voice of the dwarf speaking to this man. And when two people are conversing, you know that there are two people conversing. The voices of the dwarfs are very distinct. And then something happened. The dwarfs got angry and they began to beat this man. My daddy said you could hear real blows. They were really hitting this man hard. You could hear the blows. And this guy, they hit him. He fell on the curtain on the tent, and the tent fell, and suddenly they were exposed. That was the first time my father saw a dwarf. Before they could disappear, the people there saw them. Before, Western medicine arrived in Africa, many of the traditional healers claim that they received their knowledge of healing from dwarfs. Dwarfs and other spirit beings. They taught them the herbs, what different leaves, what diseases different leaves could heal, different, barks of trees, what they could do. There is this philanthropist in Ghana called Safo Kantanka. He has only technical, high school, not even high school, like junior school education, technical school. And this man is able to build, he has built his own 4x4 vehicle that he named Kantanka. That is all over in Ghana. Even the government has bought some of the cars for the police or for government officials, just to promote his trade. He's been able to build a helicopter. He built MOWACs, military wear. He builds television with such a technology that you can put it on by clapping and put it off by clapping. This man hasn't gone to the university. He hasn't been to any university to study any technology. He says, Safo Kantanka himself says, dwarfs taught him in the night. I'm talking about terrestrial spirits that we can see, let alone celestial spirits. Some of these dwarfs come and take people away to some place, and they keep the people there. There is a woman that was kept there for 7 years. When she appeared on top of a house with a certain dress, magic dress that could prolong itself. It could become short with a lot of talismans. She became a great healer. They taught her how to, traditional medicine. So these are spirits. Then we have the mermaid. The mermaid in West Africa is called Mami Wata. The cult of Mami Wata is big today. There's a cult of Mami Wata. There are the priests and priestesses of Mami Wata that are consulted every day in West Africa. People go there for help. for healing, for different needs, human needs. They go there. And sometimes along the road, you see the signboards of the Mami Wata priests all over. There are people who, have seen this mermaid, half fish, half woman. Again, you may be sitting out there and saying, "Oh, this is all hoax." You can just stay in your ignorance. There are people who have never gone to school who know much more than you. Sometimes we think that we know so much. There are some things that people there who have never gone to school know that you didn't even imagine. You can't even imagine. Right? So we have these mermaids. In the West, here in the US and in Europe, we have what we call the Bigfoot. This huge being that walks on 2 feet like a human being. He's got hairs all over the body. The face looks, a bit like that of a chimpanzee, but it's not a chimpanzee. It's huge, about 9 feet tall and over, right? And people see him walking in the forest. Different people have seen this being at different times in different countries. Today, Bigfoot is a popular, word in the United States and in Europe. People are trying to do research. They're trying to develop equipment. They're trying to, people are staying in the forest, really wanting to film Bigfoot. Testimonies of people who have seen this being before. It's a terrestrial being, but we can't see him. Our natural eyes cannot see him. If they want, they can reveal themselves to you. If not, they are there, but you can see them. You might be walking in the forest, they are there. Dwarfs might be there. Bigfoot might be there. This being that we call Sasabonsam, the one I just described, that my friend Doris saw. Tall, white being that appears and disappears. In Ghana, and amongst the Akan people, we call it Sasabonsam, which literally means, the devil. Appears. Many people over the centuries, many people have seen it. It can appear, it can disappear. All right? So, even on Earth, there are living beings that we cannot see. How much more in the heavens? The Bible talks about principalities and powers. In the book of Ephesians chapter 6, verses 12 and 13, the Bible talks about principalities and powers and wicked spirits in the heavenly places. These are spirits that are in heavenly places. They are in the skies. They are not on earth. They are in the sky. They are in the heavens. And in Genesis chapter 2, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, when God was creating the universes, he said something very important. Genesis 1:14. And God said, "Let there be light in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night. And let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years." He put lights up there to mark sacred time. They are signs that will mark sacred times, seasons, and years. What does it mean? Something to be a sign that will mark a season, that will mark a sacred time. The Star of Bethlehem was such a star that marked a sacred time, the birth of the Messiah. So the light that was up there, that star that was up there, was a sign from heaven. The stars that are up there, like I said in the book of Enoch, he saw that these were burning flames that could reveal themselves as angels, as living beings. So you see, all that we see in the sky are not burning gases. Yes, some are burning gases. Even those that are burning gases could still be living. They could still have living beings in them. That the fire that you see might not be ordinary fire. It could be like the Bible says in Hebrews chapter 1, God made his angels flames of fire. The seraphim are fiery snakes. They can appear as fiery snakes that are fiery. Snakes of fire. So the cherubim and the seraphim, what do you think they are? They are extraterrestrial. They are aliens. Alien simply means that they are alien to us. We don't know them. They don't belong to our planet. They don't belong to our world. So it's surprising to me when people doing research in UFOs and aliens say, oh yes, they are extraterrestrial. The Bible mistakenly calls them angels. What are you talking about? An angel means a messenger. And you have termed it extraterrestrial. You have termed these beings extraterrestrial, meaning that they are not of the earth. And you are saying the Bible is wrong by calling them messengers. They are messengers, yes. Because right from the outset, they are messengers. Satan, what was Satan? He came, it was, how do you call it? A beast. He came in form of a beast, a snake. But he talked to Adam and Eve. He talked to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, talked to him. Eve talked to him. He was intelligent. The Bible says he was the most intelligent creature. From there, we have, the watchers in Genesis chapter 6. The watchers who came to take the daughters of men and who gave birth to the giants. The watchers. The Bible calls them the sons of God. They were heavenly beings. They were not human beings. They were heavenly beings. Some people would like to, dispute that. But, those people were saying that the sons of God were the sons of Shem and, all kinds of arguments that don't hold. Because if the sons of God, if humans, one group of humans get married to another group of humans, and how are they going to produce giants that the Bible describes as having, height sometimes 30 feet and over? Even the giants, the lesser giants at the time of David, Goliath, was 9 feet tall. The king of Og, his bed was 15 feet tall, 6 feet wide. It's recorded there in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 2, right? So the giants were there. But you see, we should not confuse the disembodied bodies, the disembodied spirits of the giants, with, these living beings that I'm talking about. When the Bible talks about principalities and powers and spirits, wicked spirits in the heavenly places, they're not talking about demons. These are not demons. We shouldn't confuse them. A demon is a disembodied spirit. These people, they have their bodies, they are not disembodied. The principalities and powers that Paul is describing in Ephesians chapter 6, they are not demons. They are spirits. An example is the spirit that is called in the book of Daniel, the Prince of Persia, who tried to stop the angel Gabriel from delivering a message to Daniel. Daniel had been fasting, and God had sent the angel Gabriel to come and give an answer to Daniel concerning what time, the exile of Israel in Babylon was going to end. The prince of Persia stopped him, blocked his passage, until Michael, the archangel, came and helped him, took over the fight with the prince of Persia, and Gabriel was able to come and deliver the message. Who was the prince of Persia? When we say prince, it's like Paul says, it's a principality, a ruler, that spirit being that oversaw the whole nation of Persia. These are not demons. These are spirit beings that rule in the atmosphere. Okay, so there are spirit beings that are loyal to God. There are other spirit beings that are loyal to Satan. Apart from demons that are, the spirits of the disembodied spirits of the giants. When they were punished by God, their bodies were stripped off, in the Civil War and in the floods, pre-Diluvian times. They are all there. They are all up there. So when we talk about aliens, aliens simply means that we do not know them. An alien is someone who comes from another place. So somebody who is alien to the earth is somebody who doesn't come from our earth. They come from outside the earth. The Dogon tribe, the Dogon or Dogon tribe in Mali in the 18th century. Two anthropologists came from France, one a German and another, a French. They came to do research in Mali. And when the Dogon tribe, when they met with the Dogon people, the priests of the Dogon people told them that there were some extraterrestrial people that had come from the planet, the star Aries, and had come to give them some information. In fact, they have this festival where they put on the masks. They had depicted how those alien beings look like. And every year they have a festival where they dance and put on the masks to depict their alien friends who came and taught them many things. Now, the aliens told them that they come from a planet Aries B. At that time, technology had not yet discovered the planet Aries B. It was only one. So the anthropologists coming from Europe just dismissed the Dogon tribe as primitive people. You can't even read and write. How are you able to see the stars and know the stars? It's not possible. Well, what happened? Many, many years after, not long ago, when technology developed further, they were able to create a telescope that was able to see that there was a sister planet to Aries, and they named it Aries B. In the 18th century, the Dogon people of Mali knew that there was a star there. There was a sister star to Aries. We discovered it in the 20th century. Technology discovered it in the 20th century. Right? So there are beings that are out there, and what we call aliens just means that they don't belong to our earth. So look at the angels that came, the angels that, minister to human beings. The Bible has been saying for more than 3,000 years that we are not alone. Now the world just closed their ears and eyes and said, no, we don't want to hear. You went into a deep slumber, you don't want to hear, and suddenly you wake up and say, oh, we are not alone. But that's what the Bible has been telling you all these years, all these centuries. Of course, we are not alone. How presumptuous is it for human beings to think that we are the only intelligent beings in all the galaxies? I mean, how presumptuous is that? Today, the governments of the earth are scared because there are people who are not of our planet, who are visiting our planet with equipment, with ships, airships, aeroplanes that we cannot even begin to fathom how they were created. More powerful. The way they maneuver the sky, some can go deep into the sea and shoot out on the sea straight up. Which human machine can do that? And as I've said, even if human beings were inside those machines, they'll vaporize. You cannot stay. You will die. So the UFOs are the machines, and the aliens are the occupants of those machines. These machines that I've already talked about, the UFOs in the Bible, now I'm talking about the aliens who are supposed to be the people riding or flying in those machines. The fact that those who have witnessed them, several people have seen them. They are known to have come and abducted some people and taken them away and performed scientific, experiments on them. They brought the people back and doctors examined them and saw lacerations on their bodies, etc. Hundreds of people have seen them. Aliens. They look like humans, but the ones they've seen so far, the majority, like Anunnaki and the others, they are very short. Their stature is small, big heads with the eyes slanting like a V, big eyes, like their skin is different from ours by sometimes greenish skins. Other people, like a military person that was confessed on his deathbed that he had been working in Area 52 and had seen, an extraterrestrial being, an alien. He said they were as white as paper. When we talk about white, not what we call white man. No, there's no white man. Anything that you see, anytime you see a white man, it's either Sabonsam in West Africa or an alien in Area 52. This army officer had kept this secret, because you cannot talk. You cannot say it. It's forbidden. But on his deathbed, he confessed and said he actually saw these aliens were as white. One group was as white paper. So those are the ones that are actually called white men and women. As for human beings, there's no one that is white. Okay. So there are these beings that come from many places in the galaxies. We don't know where they are, but they're there. The fact that the Bible talks about principalities and powers in the heavenly places, the Bible talks about them. Apart from the angels who are messengers. The word angel just means a messenger. Messenger sent from God. It can be a messenger sent from God, or it can be a messenger sent from Satan. That's an angel. And we call them fallen angels who serve Satan, who are always also, interacting with human beings. So the angels that dealt with people, different people in the Old Testament, the angels that fought for Israel, when they were fighting, Assyria, the king of Syria, Sennacherib, the angel that came and killed, 75,000 people one night, the angel that almost destroyed the whole of Jerusalem. The Bible is full of descriptions of angels who, in today's language, in the language that the people of the world, the people of technology want, they are just simple other aliens or extraterrestrial beings. They are aliens because they don't come from our planet. And they are extraterrestrial again because they are not of the earth. Bible has been talking about them all along, right? So we have these beings that are in the skies, and the angels, they are in different categories. I've already talked about the cherubs. The cherubs are those who carried the throne of Yahuwah, who are described in Ezekiel chapter 1 and chapter 10. Also described, in the book of Revelations, who are 4 faces and 4 to 6 wings and so on and so forth. Okay. We have the chariots of fire that are flying in the air. They fly in the air at lightning speed of lightning. No human being can execute that kind of movement in the sky. They appear and disappear. The height at which they can go, the speed at which they can go, the way they can turn, the way they can zigzag, no human machine can perform those maneuvers. All right. So we are surrounded by beings. We all know, we all should know that, especially except those who have closed their eyes and closed their ears, because they want us to believe that they are on top, though whatever they tell us is what we should believe. Meanwhile, again, our technological equipment is so primitive, that what people who lived before us thousands of years ago were able to do, we cannot even do them today. We don't even understand how they did them. Right? Okay. So these beings are there. And in the sky, what we see is that the UFOs or UAPs are the ships, the machines within which the aliens or the extraterrestrial beings ride. So what does the Bible, what hasn't the Bible said about these things? Everything is in there. I've talked about my own experience with what looked like fire, but it wasn't fire. There was a living being in that fire. I talked about my friend, Sister Doris, her experience of this being that was white paper, similar to what, the army officer described that he saw in Area 52 in the US. These are realities. The dwarfs are real. The mermaid is real. There are all kinds of spirits that are there. The fact that we don't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. But I want to conclude by saying that Jesus Christ warned us that when his coming is near, we will see signs in the sky, signs on earth, and signs in the sea. He said we will see pestilences, that's pandemics, wars. There'll be increased wars. There'll be many more wars. And then there'll be famine. In Luke chapter 21, verse 11, Jesus says, there will be great earthquakes, and there will be famines and plagues, that's pandemics, in many lands. And there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. Beloved, I want to suggest to you that all these UFOs that we're seeing and all these aliens, they are terrifying signs from heaven, warning you and me that Jesus Christ is at the door. All the signs are out. Earthquakes. Look at the intensity of earthquakes and the frequency. Intensity and frequency have increased. Look at the famines. Famine all over the land. Famine will come when there's war. Wars have increased and there's famine. When you have wars and you have pandemics, famine is natural. It will come. And so he said there will be signs in the sea. There will be signs on the land. That's the earthquakes and all this. And then there will be signs from the heavens. Frightening, terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. Luke chapter 21, verse 11. Jesus Christ was describing the events that would mark his second coming. I want to suggest to you that what we are saying and what they are describing, this year alone, 6,000 UFOs were seen in America alone. The Pentagon had to come out clearly and say, pushed by the Senate, they had to come out and admit that there's something out there that we don't understand. There's something out there that is not human. Even the Pentagon has come out clearly. Today, almost every week, CNN reports about sightings of UFOs. It's so common in our days. What are they? Jesus Christ says that when it's about to come, there'll be frightening or terrifying things and great miraculous signs in heaven. God is so merciful. He will always give you a sign. He will not take you by surprise. Only those who are sleeping will be taken by surprise. Even in the destruction of Jerusalem, God gave them some signs. Even though he had clearly said that his wrath was going to come upon the Jews for the abomination that they had committed, to the extent of killing all the prophets he had sent to them in the Old Testament, killing Jesus Christ, and going ahead and killing, his disciples. When the time came, before the time came for the destruction of Jerusalem, for 4 years successively, God had been warning them with signs. But just like us, the Jews saw the signs, but because they didn't believe in the Messiah, they didn't believe in Christ, then they ignored the signs. One of the signs, according to Josephus, if you read the books of the historical works of Josephus, especially concerning the destruction of Jerusalem, he said one of the signs was that a comet, a star in the sky, had transformed itself into a sword, a bright light, a sword staring down at Jerusalem. And the secret scribes, interpreted the sign well. They said it was a bad omen. It was a bad omen, but they didn't link it to the words, the warning of the Lord Jesus Christ, because they had rejected him, and they said he was nobody. He was not their Messiah. They were waiting for their own Messiah. So this comet, this sword, stared down, bright light like a sword, stared down at Jerusalem for several months. There was another sign. At one time, the people in Jerusalem saw horses and horse riders on the clouds surrounding the city of Jerusalem. They saw it. Horses. Isn't it similar to, like what the Old Testament experiences are? These horses, where did they come from? These armies, where did they come from? Who were they? Terrifying sights from God in the sky. The Jews saw it. They didn't take it serious. They didn't link it to the warning of the Lord Jesus Christ. The Christians, those who believe in Christ, saw it. They saw it, and the moment they saw it, they said, this is what the Lord was talking about. They ran out of Jerusalem. En masse, they fled and went and took refuge in a town called Petra, and they were saved. Those who stayed in Jerusalem were destroyed. According to Josephus, 1.1 million people died in Jerusalem in 79 to 69 to 70 AD. 69 to 70 AD. God warned Jerusalem before he destroyed it. It's in that same passage that in Luke chapter 21 that Jesus Christ also gave us the warning that these are the signs you will see when my coming is near. And when you begin to see these signs, look up, because your redemption is near. My brother, my sister who are listening to me, if you're a Christian, stand well. Don't just be religious. Christ is coming for his bride. He's coming for those who love him. He's not coming for Christians. He's coming for his disciples, who are his bride, his wife. They love him so much. They love him more than their own lives. If you're just playing religion and go to church and come in, you will be surprised. One of these days, Christ will appear, he'll take his bride away, and you stand face to face with the Antichrist. You miss the rapture, and you say the Antichrist comes and takes over the world. That's when you know what wickedness is. That's where you will see what wickedness is, when the Antichrist takes over the world. Now you have an opportunity to repent. Seek the Lord. Surrender your life to Christ. Convert from being a Christian to becoming a disciple. The two things are different. A Christian is anyone in a Christian denomination. Your name is recorded, and you go to church, you do the rituals every Sunday, you pay your tithes and offerings, and the pastor knows you as a member. That's a Christian. A disciple is one who is following Christ. He's in the sheepfold of Christ. He listens to the voice of Christ. He obeys Christ. He loves Christ more than anything in this world. As Christ said, if you don't love me more than your father, your mother, your brothers, your sisters, your husband, your wife, your children, if you don't love him more than your own life, you cannot be my disciple. Christ is coming for his disciples. He's not coming for a denomination. He's not coming for a congregation. He's coming for his disciples, who are scattered, few in all these denominations. There are few of his disciples, true disciples in these denominations. Those are the people he's come to rapture, not the denominations, not the majority. The signs are all out there. All the signs are there. My friend, I want to leave you with this information, that take it from me or you leave it. The signs we are seeing, what we're seeing as UFOs, aliens, these signs that are terrifying all the governments of the earth. Because they are saying that, who are these people? Where are they coming from? And they are more advanced than us. If they want to annihilate us within a minutes, we are gone. They are more powerful. That's why the nation didn't want to admit that any such thing existed. But now they are forced to admit that they are there. But it's a certain that they are not coming to harm us. Maybe they're just watching. Because, the experience is that they've been saying more often at where nuclear weapons are. Recently, it's said that one such machine appeared over the nuclear plants in the US and demobilized the nuclear weapons. Totally demobilized. They can demobilize all our satellites in heaven, bring them down if they want to. Commercial as well as civilian airports, pilots have come to close proximity. There was one military pilot that was forced to land because this UFO kept pestering him. He was forced to land his plane. These are realities. I'm saying to you that the Bible has talked about them, both UFOs and aliens. The frequency at which they are visiting our world can only be the signs, terrifying signs from the heaven. Beloved, go to my first video and learn more about the UFOs. But in this video, I'm giving you a biblical perspective of UFOs and aliens. Prepare to meet your Lord. Jesus is coming. Maranatha. God bless you.